Your power lies in submission. Stone, what do you mean my power lies in my submission? That doesn't even make sense. That doesn't really add up. How, if I'm submitting, then how do I have any power? Let me explain this really quick. So, what I mean to say when I say that you can find your power in submission is that God's will be done anyway. What God wants for us will always be over what we want for ourselves. So why resist it? Why keep running away from it? I think a lot of times we cause ourselves more suffering and more pain because we choose not to let go of the things that are probably just no longer serving us anymore. Sometimes we have a tough time realizing that life comes with changes. Life comes with discomfort. That's all just a part of the journey and all just a part of growth. It's like God's trying to flip the page on our book. You know, God's trying to flip the page, and here comes our little behinds, just tugging down on the page. God, please don't turn the page. Please don't turn the page. Lord, don't turn the page. But regardless, life is just a chain of events. The page has to turn. Something has to change and something has to give. So why do we resist it? I think that it's in our nature to, one, chase pleasure, two, avoid discomfort. We find comfort in familiarity. What's familiar to us isn't always what's best for us. And we have to know how to navigate change. As humans, we also like certainty. We like to know what's happening next. We like to know, if I wake up today and I go on this job, or I wake up today and I'm sleeping next to this person, I know that, I know what today's gonna bring. I know it's predictable. And we love this certainty so much, and we love this comfort so much, to the point where we allow ourselves to suffer because we just don't want to move on. Like I said, God is trying to flip that page. It's time to move on to the next link in the chain, and you're still holding on to that last link. And the whole time, God is grabbing you by the other wrist and saying, come up to the next link. And it's just that push and pull, or it's just pulling you two different directions. You just keep feeling that resistance. You keep feeling that resistance. Sometimes it just takes us to stop resisting. It takes us to submit to God's will, to understand that what God wants for us is always going to be more important than what we want. You can think of any low. Think of the lowest point in your life. And you're still here, right? You're still breathing. You get to wake up every single day with a new opportunity to become a better person. Because God made us to win. God made you to win. God made it so that you could wake up the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and choose to either become better or resist His will and try to stay where you've been this whole time. But just know that when you try to stay where you've been and you resist God's will, you try to reject it, and when you're only thinking about what you want over what God wants, and you try to depend too much on your own understanding of things, it gets to the point where you're holding on to things that should have been let go of for a long time ago. You're still sitting in the same pain that you were sitting in months ago because you still want to be where you were months ago because that's what's familiar to you. And the longer you sit there and the longer you try to stay in that place where God clearly doesn't want you anymore, the longer you suffer. And I get it, because a lot of times change can come with a lot of discomfort. Change can come with a lot of pain, and change can come with a lot of suffering. But sometimes we don't stop to consider what that pain and that suffering is teaching us. Some of us don't know how to take a loss and turn it into a lesson. I've got to the point in my life where nothing is a loss to me, but just a lesson, because for me, when I feel myself going through something, it's always my habit, and it's something I had to build over time, but it's always my habit to ask myself, what can I learn from this? What can I get from this to make me a better person? What can I do better next time? And that's what submission is all about. Submission, I used to think that submission was giving my power away. A few months ago, I thought that submitting to God just meant giving my power away, taking the control out of my hands. Oh, all it's really done is giving me more control, because when you submit, you let go of the things that you can no longer control, and you start focusing on the things that you can control. You put your energy into the things that you can control. You know, you might not be able to control the fact that your job laid you off. But guess what? God's gonna wake you up that next morning, and you have a choice. You have choices, endless amounts of choices. Well, are you gonna sit in bed all day and cry because your job laid you off and you no longer have a source of income? Or are you gonna find a new job? Or are you gonna keep your eyes open for new opportunities? Are you gonna update your resume? Are you gonna get in the gym and make sure that you're fit and you're keeping your mental health up, so that when opportunities do arise, you're able to jump to the occasion? What are you doing to control what you can control and become a better person every day? What are you doing? And I think there's so much power in that. You're giving all the power back to yourself. Another example, you'll have people who leave your life, right? Not everybody has to stay in your life, and not everybody's going to stay in your life. But are you gonna continue crying and pouting over a person who left your life, whether they hurt you, whether they ghosted you? Are you gonna keep pouting over that, or are you gonna become a better person? Are you gonna improve your social skills so that you can go out and meet new people? Are you gonna get out of your comfort zone, and are you gonna make that sacrifice of just a little discomfort, maybe a little rejection? Are you gonna overcome that and meet new people? Are you gonna control what you can control, or are you gonna keep your mind trapped on what you can or on what you can't control? You know what I mean? And so that's what I mean when I say there's power in submission. You're letting God's will be done, and you're controlling what you can. God gave us free will, but God also has his will. So at the end of the day, you know, there's going to be a lot of turns of events. Life is going to happen. God's will is going to continue to unfold. But how do we use our freedom to make ourselves better? Give ourselves freedom. How do we unchain ourselves from the suffering of trying to cling on to the things that we can't control? And that's what I mean when I say that there's power in submission. Submitting to God's will. There's power. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 through 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. Man, I tell you the truth. Even in my own experience, I found that once I stopped focusing on the things that I could no longer control, you know, it is good to have understandings of things, but I found myself tormenting myself because I just kept asking questions after questions that I already kind of knew the answers to. Sometimes you just have to take things for what it is. Stop trying to understand everything so much and stop trying to be so certain. You're not going to be certain of everything. And it kind of got to the point where I stopped chasing that certainty because I realized that it was tormenting me. I was holding on to things for the longest time that were just no longer serving me. It's like I was throwing my energy at something that was no longer giving me energy back. And that does nothing but drain you. It got to the point where I just started realizing, I'm like, I pretty much already have an understanding of this situation. Why am I still looking for more understanding? I'm hearing the same thing over and over and over and over. I can ask this question as much as I want. But at the end of the day, all of the answers were the same, just probably a little different. And it got to the point where I was like, am I going to keep tormenting myself trying to understand this? Or am I going to be satisfied with the understanding that I have right now? And am I going to take the situation for what it is and move on? You know what I mean? And ever since I've done that, ever since I've been trusting in God with that situation, I decided, you know what? So I just want to make sure that we're still recording. It got to the point where I say, you know what? God, I hand this over to you. It gets to the point where you gotta come to terms with what you've been trying to understand. You have to come to terms with it and say, you know what, God? I think I've got enough understanding on this. I hand this over to you. This is something that I can no longer control. This is something that is out of my hands. And Lord, I trust you with it. Now let me hand this over to you. And what happens with this, I let that be your will. I let it be what you want it to be. Whatever happens with this situation, the best thing you can do is hand it over to God. Because everything that he does is intentional, with the best intentions for us. It might be painful in the moment. It might be painful to let it go. But when you trust God with it, you best believe that he's always gonna do the right thing with it. Us, we're not all knowing. We don't always know what to do with it. We don't always make the right choices. And I'm sure you can think of a time where a situation was in your hands and you just didn't make the right choice. You made the situation worse. I know I can. But when you hand it over to God and you put your energy on the right things, the things that you can control, over time it gets to the point where you're like, wow, now I can really see things for what it is. Because I've took the time to let this thing go. And you also have appreciation for the things that you've been through. Like, wow, if I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't have the wisdom or the knowledge that I have now to navigate through the remainder of my life. And so I can truly be grateful for everything that has happened. And I can truly be grateful that I became aware of it and I got to confront it. And I can truly be grateful for all of the problems that I continue to confront, because I know that on the other side of this is a lesson and just more tools for me to use for the rest of my life, to navigate my life. This discussion kind of reminds me of a time that I was on the lake and it starts storming. Out of nowhere, we hear big thunder, just a bunch of gray clouds start blanketing the sky. We're on an island in the middle of the lake. And as we're leaving the island, we feel a strong gust of wind and a bunch of leaves. We look up and see a bunch of leaves twirling in the air. Like, wow, things got turned real quick. And as we're on the lake, that gust of wind starts pushing our kayak. If the boardwalk is this way, the wind is blowing us this way, the opposite way of the boardwalk. But it was like, okay, well, we either get rained on, and we're here, mind you, we're also hearing the whistle. I forgot to mention that. We're hearing the whistle from the guy. He's basically saying like, okay, come in. The storm's coming in. He's telling us to come in with the kayak. So we get on the water, and before you know it, we're being gusted. We're trying to row over to the boardwalk this way, and we're being gusted by the wind and the waves this way. And so we feel the boat starting to tip, the waves are rough. We're feeling the kayak, a kayak is skinny. We're feeling it go like this. It's like, okay, well, looking like we might flip over right now. How are we gonna possibly muscle our way through the water to get to the boardwalk? And I was just like, you know what? We decided, why don't we just go with the waves? You know what? Let's just go with the waves. Why resist? If we resist, there's a better chance that we end up on a wave on our side that ends up tipping us over, especially while we're trying to row and we're moving side to side. Why don't we just go with the waves? And so we did that. We let the waves carry us to the land. We trusted the waves. We trusted the process. And so eventually the waves get us to land, and we just decide, okay, you know what? We're gonna pick up the kayak and we're gonna walk it to the boardwalk. And things worked out a lot better that way, because instead of resisting and instead of trying to get things done our way, we just went with what the situation gave us. The situation was what it was, and we went with the waves. And so I'm just saying that to say, stop resisting change in life, because change will happen like this. That storm will come like this. Before you know it, your sky will be blanketed by gray clouds. That wind's gonna hit, that thunder's gonna clap, and those waves are gonna drift you away from the plans that you had. But are you gonna suffer, fight against it? Are you gonna capsize? because you didn't know how to go with the flow, because you didn't trust God, because you didn't go with his will, because you tried to hold on to old plans? Or are you going to trust God's will? Are you going to trust that everything's going to be okay? And are you going to go with the flow? At the end of the day, the choice is yours. So I say all of that just to say, your power lies in your submission, and God is waiting for you to submit. I hope y'all enjoy that, and I hope y'all got something from this message. Enjoy the rest of the video, and I love y'all. Peace. Yo, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Stone. I'm actually getting back to y'all a couple days later after this video, because in that video, my intention at the end was to connect the vlog that I'd done the day before. I was gonna actually put that vlog after the video, but I said, you know what, let me just go ahead and make this discussion a video in of itself, and I'll probably just go ahead and post, you know, that little mini vlog that I had to put at the end of that video. So this was just to let you guys know, because if I don't record this, then the discussion won't have an outro. So this is the outro for that video. And I also just wanted to let y'all know that I'd love to do more discussions, and I'm really enjoying dropping this content and just witnessing my own growth. I really wanted to say that because I don't know, I think that discussion really even just taught me a lot about myself and the way that I communicate, and just seeing each video little by little, I see the places where I can improve. So I don't know, I guess I just wanted to share. I'm really enjoying it, and I hope that y'all are enjoying it too. Like I said, I would love to drop a lot more discussion videos, and got a lot of vlogs coming, you know, just kind of doing my thing, learning exactly what my purpose is with this, and where it'll take me, where I can improve. And I mean, it's going good. So yeah, I really hope that you guys are enjoying this as much as I am, and I appreciate you guys for watching anyway. If you could please just support me by liking, sharing, subscribing, you know, turning that post notification bell on, and yeah, just let me know, you know, let me know if y'all are enjoying it. Let it be known, voice your opinion, and I'll be looking at that, responding. Just want to let you guys know that I really appreciate you again. I appreciate the interactions. I appreciate anybody who shares, anybody who comments anything, anybody who sends. Highly appreciate it. So like, comment, subscribe, and share, and see y'all soon, man. Peace.